8 agreements have been signed. In which areas do you think there's going to be the greatest Kenyan-Brazilian collaboration?
I think it's very early to say, although I think agri is probably going to be top of the agenda. The 8 agreements which were signed include sectors such as the agri, ICT, manufacturing, vehicle assembling, natural resources, housing and energy.
Okay, now Brazil has a competitive advantage as being a leading producer of ethanol, and it's very active in the biofuel space. Kenya is a leading agro exporter in Africa, and so there is a sense that Kenya wants to tap into the Brazilian expertise in the biofuel and energy space. Is there going to be a lot of work in this sector?
Well, there's certainly going to need to be a lot of effort in the sector. If you have a look at Brazil's biofuels sector, I mean, it's perhaps, or it is the leading sector, leading biofuels economy by volume. Yeah. Yet they have a 30-year history in terms of making ethanol and biodiesels. So that is quite an important aspect to Kenya's position. Secondly, perhaps going forward in terms of where Kenya needs to go, I believe it's a very apt business approach. Kenya and Brazil's climate, agricultural climate, is very, very similar. And Kenya remains to be a net importer of fuels, white fuels. Right. So going forward, it does make sense. Perhaps what we would, or what Kenyan would need to consider is the fact that at this point in time, agricultural production hasn't been what it should be. Over the last 2 years, right, there has been drought, and they have been a net importer of food, and right, most of this has been through donor aid.
Okay, talking about the trade deficits, in total, African exports to Brazil have risen to 18.5 billion. But it seems as though Kenya and East Africa are importing more Brazilian goods than what's going out. In terms of trying to balance out that trade deficit, what needs to be done?
Well, I think what would need to happen is some FDI would have to come in. Remember, you know, in the global space, it doesn't make as much. Obviously, there's a give and take between countries, but naturally, if Kenya needs a specific service and Brazil's able to offer that, and it's the best source, well, it would make business sense. Kenya has trade surpluses with other countries, so that's quite important. But in terms of getting the relationship right, particularly with the common market in East Africa, I think this has been a very good trip for President Lula.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned the common market, which was launched just last week on the 1st of July. How is that going to help the Kenyans boost their trade position with Brazil? And I want to add to that something that you said to me earlier off air, is that Brazil is such a diversified economy, and they have also a manufacturing competitive advantage, and could see Kenya, as the president is saying, as an investment hub for manufacturers.
Yes, it's very important to understand where Brazil is coming from. Brazil's background with Africa has been the Lusophone countries, being Angola, Mozambique, and they've made very successful strides in these countries. Yet, this is the first visit that I've seen President Lula make to a non-Lusophone country, being Kenya. So it's a very important stepping stone, particularly from the perspective that China and India have got a very good footing into Africa already. So that is quite important. From the diversity perspective, Brazil will definitely be able to add a lot of value in particular segments. Brazil is in a very competitive manufacturing country, and particularly in the agricultural space. I mean, one of the most diverse range of export baskets in the agricultural sector that I've seen.